Welcome to the Filipino American Women Project, also known as TFAW Project for short, a podcast show that features stories and life lessons told by American women of Filipino descent. We're your co-hosts, Jen Amos.
And I'm Nani Dominguez.
And thank you for joining us.
If today's conversation resonates with you, text us and let us know at 415-484-8329.
And if you want to show us some love, buy us boba at buymeacoffee.com/Jen and Nani.
It says coffee, but we love boba. Again, that's www.buymeacoffee.com/Jen and Nani.
Awesome. With that said, thank you all for your love and support.
Now let's get into the show.
Hello, everybody. Jen Amos here, and welcome to Filipino American History Month. Woo! Before we dive into today's conversation, and it's actually funny, I will give you a spoiler alert. The first part of our conversation is a ton of announcements. I've actually been collecting stuff I've been meaning to say with all of you in response to listener feedback and just some things I noticed that I thought was worth sharing. And so the first part of our conversation today will be about announcements. I want to let you all know that every time we release a commentary episode such as this, where it's basically Nani and I talking, we also publish an exclusive episode only available to our biasboba.com members on our private podcast show, Chismis with Jen and Nani. So in addition to kicking off Filipino American History Month with today's episode, I also want to encourage especially our biasboba.com members to listen to our exclusive episode on Chismis with Jen and Nani, where Nani and I actually get interviewed by a professor for their academic paper. So just like how we have an academic paper, which you can read today, the initial draft on PanayPodcasters.com, we have been asked to contribute to someone else's academic paper about podcasting. So yay! So if you want to get that exclusive interview and learn a little bit about history of the Filipino American Women Project, because, in theme of Filipino American History Month, be sure to become a member on biasboba.com to get access to Chismis with Jen and Nani. Or, of course, if you are already a member, to listen to that episode right after you listen to this one. Anyway, that is all I wanted to add before the next amount of announcements that you are going to have the pleasure of listening to. Welcome to Filipino American History Month. I'm excited to be doing Filipino American History Month with Nani because, as a reminder, once Filipino American History Month is over, we are going to be going on a break. And we'll be talking a little bit more in this episode today about what that's going to look like and how you can still continue to hear from us in the off season. Until then, enjoy today's episode. Happy Filipino American History Month. Hey everyone, and welcome to our third, this is a video in case anyone's watching, our third year celebrating Filipino American History Month. I'm Jen Amos, your creator and co-host, and of course, as always, hopefully forever and ever and ever, I have my co-host with me, Nani Dominguez. Nani, welcome back.
Thank you. Yes, I'm here to stay. Hey everyone, nice to be back.
Yes, and I'm just really excited for this month, Nani, because like I said at the very beginning, first and foremost, we're doing video. It's been a while since you and I have done video.
I know. Hey, y'all.
Yes, this is how we look like right now. And the last time you and I talked, I was on a farm. I'm not telling people where that farm was, but now I am somewhere else. And so we literally just got here like 2-3 hours ago, and I showered and had dinner, and now I'm sitting on the floor with the bookcase behind me. So it's been a roller coaster ride, and as always, you all can get the chismis about our personal lives in detail on Chismis with Jen and Nani, which we'll actually dive into more a little bit today. But I just want to open up by recognizing that this is our third year doing Filipino American History Month.
I'm excited to share with you guys what we have planned, what we're still, hint for you, our TBD plans. and just dive into it because it's here already. So I guess I came back just in time.
Yes, you did. And as I said, when you did come back last commentary, I wanted to just express how grateful I am to, wrap up this. I don't know if we're going to call it the end of the season just yet. I think we'll find out at the end of Filipino American History Month if we want to call this like a whole season or not. But, I'm just glad that right before we go on break, starting November and at the end of Filipino American History Month, I'm just so glad I get to end this month with you.
Same. Again, it feels good to be back. And I think that I just love that we get to pour our energy into Filipino American History Month because it's only once a year that we get to do that. And like you said, it's our third year now, and it's become a tradition for our show and our sisterhood here. So we hope that you guys enjoy the content, and we hope that you feel compelled to like reach out and interact and participate with us with the fun events that we have planned for you.
Yes, for sure. So before we really dive into what's going on with Filipino American History Month, I have been racking up some things I wanted to share with all of you, and I'm sure Nani is going to be chiming in as well. So first and foremost, just some general listener shout outs. I remember like when I first did the whole episode of replying to people's messages, there was a couple of people that I forgot to give a shout out to, Nani. So first and foremost, I have to give a shout out to Chachi. So Chachi from Reclaiming Filipinx Identity over there in Hawaii. We have just been texting each other, through my direct phone number, which I don't share with everyone, Nani. Even you and I, even though we have our numbers, we communicate through Slack. So for me, I like to consider it a big deal, when I give people my phone number. But yeah, we have been just staying in touch, and we are in the process of trying to schedule something to really catch up, especially via video. So Chachi, I just want to give a shout out to you. Nani, any thoughts you want to share with Chachi?
Hey, Chachi, I miss you and I love you. And I talk to you on Instagram when I hop on there every so often. But yeah, I would love to catch up with her. We still need to have her on the show. So I don't know what happened to that. But Chachi, you let us know when you're ready.
Well, actually, she is on our waiting list. And so if anything, she's waiting on us, right?
Okay, my bad, Chachi.
Yeah, we're a little behind because of life. And that's okay, because I think all good things come in good timing, and you'll be on the show before you know it. But I feel like we have dropped her name so many times already, in just pretty much the entirety of our show, ever since you have left us voice messages in our first season. The next person I want to give a shout out to, I have been texting her. Actually, she texted me months ago, and I finally responded to her during that week that I did a commentary and reply to everyone's messages. But to Joyelle Marie, I just want to publicly thank you for texting me. And she actually said something really nice to me, Nani, during that week, episode 120, when you weren't here with me, and that first solo episode that I did. And so I thought I would just share this publicly. She said to me, I know from the episode 120 from August 20th, you shared your hurt regarding not being able to have the co-host who backed out. But if it helps any, I do see it as a sign from the universe winking and letting you know that you are enough and you can hold the show on your own while Nani is caring for her firstborn. You've got
this. She needed that. Thank you for sending that love and support to her while I was gone. I did not see that message, although I usually check them. And I think that's exactly what she needed to hear. Right, Jen?
Yes. Yeah, thank you. And, I don't think I ever had a problem going solo, but, it's like, it's nice to know that, like, sorry? Oh, say it again?
I said you just didn't expect it. Like, it came out of left field.
Yeah, absolutely. And also what I like from what Joelle shared is that, and sorry, I think it's Joyelle. So Joyelle, you let me know if I'm mispronouncing your name. I'm always the first to butcher people's names. But Joyelle, what stood out to me is that I just really appreciate that, like, the listeners want to listen to me solo, like they find value in me just talking by myself because, and part of why early on when I started in podcasting, why I chose to do interview style based podcasting as well as having a co-host is because like, I don't want to do this alone, like I know a lot of podcasters who do this on their own or do, just kind of DIY it. And honestly, I think it's an uphill battle a lot of times to be able to, come up with your content, produce the show, market the show, and, try to grow your following. And some people are really fortunate, some people may have a name or a message or a kind of style of how they do their show that attracts a lot of people. But there's an African proverb that goes, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And so that was my mindset doing the show. But either way, Joyelle, I want to thank you, for telling me that I'm more than enough. I'd like to believe that I'm more than enough, but it's nice to know that if I had to continue going solo, listeners would still want to listen.
I think it's not that you don't know you're enough. You've done, I think, ample self-work to know that you're enough, but it's nice to have the reminder, and especially in those moments where, we feel unprepared or we feel blindsided or we feel, like things didn't go the way we expected them to or the way we wanted them to. In those moments specifically, you can kind of forget that. And it's nice to know that, Joyelle, you're out there listening and that you wanted to extend that grace to Jen because you could tell, that she needed it in that moment. So it's just such a nice interaction, and I appreciate it because I wasn't there to do it. So thank you for stepping up and stepping in that way. And yes, shout out to you, girl.
Yeah. Yes. Thank you so much, Joyelle. Next person I thought I'd give a fun shout out to is her IG handle is k.leena, K-A-Y.Leena. I think she goes by K for short. But I thought I'd just give her a shout out because she recently tagged us in a post where she was getting Starbucks and practicing her vocals, and she tagged us. And I ended up resharing her post, and she ended up messaging me back saying, "Oh my gosh, I didn't think that you would share it," And so I want to remind our listeners that even though we are not as active on social media the way that we used to be, we still check it, right? Like we still go on there and every now and then see who's posting. And so I just want to give a shout out to UK. And yes, we see you, we recognize you, and we appreciate that, tagging us in your post. I think very often, for us, what validates me is seeing the downloads because, sometimes our listeners are not going to reach out to us, and that's absolutely okay. We totally get that. I definitely don't, reach out to all the hosts of my favorite podcast shows myself, but to be able to tag us, and to do a quick video like that just really, I don't know, it kind of made me laugh and it made me happy, So I don't know if you saw that video, Nani. Did you see that video?
I did see it, and it was really cute, and I wish that you guys would do that more. I feel like people don't tag us anymore that often because we're not, sharing stories and interacting with you guys more often or as often as we used to. But like Jen said, if you do tag us, if you do reach out to us, we will eventually check it. And, our content, just like here on the podcast, is really driven by you and decided by you, our audience. And so if there's something that you want to see on our page, or if there's something that you want to share with the community, that's still an appropriate place to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. So shout out to UK or IG handle KAY.Leena. Also, Nani, I know that we don't always like to give these people a lot of credit, but I figured I want to also take this time to thank our spouses. I want to thank Scott, my husband, because I just think about this entire journey of doing the show and having relocated in a number of times, at least that we have in the last couple of weeks, and still be able to produce a consistent show. It wouldn't be possible if, Scott wasn't downstairs watching our dog or watching farm animals, story for Christmas with Jen and Nani. But, just to have people behind the scenes that will never be seen because the show, at least the TFAW Project, is dedicated to Filipino American women. I just want to publicly thank my husband for all of his support in supporting me in doing a project such as this outside of the work and outside of the chaos that we ourselves are going through. Nani, I don't know if you want to give Kat any credit, but I thought we would take this time to, give our spouses some credit.
Yes. No, he can get some brownie points. He is extremely supportive, and, we've been going through a lot as well. And it's just recently that he actually started working again. He took some time off when the baby was born. And so it's nice to, kind of be getting back to normal, but at the same time, he's still working from home. So he's still here and able to help out when he can. And he's always been very supportive of my work here with TFAW and our community. And I know that he expresses that very openly on biasboba.com. So if you guys want to see the chismis, you can go there for it, or subscribe to Chismis with Jen and Nani to hear more about it. But yes, shout out to my fiance / baby daddy.
Yeah, Yeah, I think it's worth noting, like, we often celebrate the collective, the community, our family. And I just think right now, like you mentioned that you and Kat have been through a lot, and, Scott and I have been through a lot. And I just think it's worth noting, because sometimes we don't give our spouses enough credit. At least I don't. And so, just shout out to our lovers.
Yes, you're right. I'm sure Kat will appreciate that if he ever listens to this.
Yeah. No, I mean, I will say it's funny because, like, even though I'm giving a shout out to Scott, like, like back then I would often say, they're not going to hear this. They're not going to hear this. Yeah, I don't think he's going to hear this. And if he does, then great. But I don't expect him either, because of all the recordings we already do together. But, I just want our listeners to know that this is not just a Jen and Nani show. There's a whole community, a whole village behind this. And part of that village is our spouses.
Yeah, absolutely. You're right.
Cool. All right. Well, I have like a bunch of other announcements, but just kind of quick ones here. Let me see real quick. So I just want to remind all of our listeners that, if for whatever reason you can't find an episode pop up in our podcast platform, we are uploading our episodes on YouTube as well. Now, the latest season 3, we're only posting up the video interviews that we do, but like, give us some time and we'll upload all the episodes on there. And also, just something to note, Nani actually lists all the YouTube videos, or at least 2 episodes at a time, in our newsletter. So just want to remind you all that we have that YouTube channel.
Yeah, that's part of our newsletter. I don't know how it shows up on your guys's end, if you're looking at it from your phone or your computer, but there's a section on the side where we dedicate to throwback episodes. So we go back from season 1 and just chronologically promote 2 of those from season 1, which are kind of fun to look back on these days, So if you're curious about those older episodes and you don't want to just scroll through your podcast app or the YouTube channel to find one and, read all the descriptions and things like that, you can just click on them from the newsletter and find them that way.
Yeah, hopefully we'll be able to do more video. But again, I always like to stress that we are primarily a podcast show. And so podcasting will always be the first medium in which we release our content. But it's fun. It's fun to check in via video, just so you guys know how we physically look like and our mannerisms and all that good stuff. And, especially even when we bring on guests as well who like to be on video. So we just like to have kind of that variety, for our show.
Yeah, in honor of opening up Filipino American History Month, I just wanted to specifically get on camera, even if it was a task to do. And as you guys can see, if you're watching this right now, I have this weird angle set up because I am multitasking and I am breastfeeding. That is the little grunts or whatever those noises are that you're hearing in the background. That is my baby. That's how he sounds when he eats. So yeah, we wanted to just show our faces to say officially welcome and happy Filipino American History Month.
Yes, absolutely. And so, man, I'm going to like speed through these announcements because I know we want to get straight into Filipino American History Month. I want to also just in general, this is just a general statement I want to put out there, but I have really just pulled, like, I am like not as active on social media as I used to be, Nani. Like even now, like I barely even go on, like even when I post something, I barely go to check my stories sometimes, to see if anyone's like viewed it. And I'm proud of myself for that, but I'm realizing why I've pulled away. I think it's because I have just received so much more value through our podcast listeners. It's one thing to say, hey, I saw your post versus, hey, I listened to your latest episode. And I love that. I love that I have found a place in the interweb, to feel like I can really have like this reciprocated type of relationship in regards to like, having these open, candid conversations and people reaching out, not because they're, let's say, making a quick assumption about my post, but because they thoroughly listened to our show. And so I just want to thank you all for the people who really take the time to listen to our episodes and to reach out to us and share how you feel, because nowadays, this is my social media. Like podcasting has become the new social media for me.
Yeah, I agree. And I think there's something to be said about like the delivery of sharing something on a podcast versus sharing things on Instagram, on a post or a story, reel or whatever they're called. It's just different. I think that both of us are typically just pretty transparent people to begin with. But again, for us to be together on this platform and sharing these, just being so open and vulnerable, I think is different than a post, even if that is also open and vulnerable. It's a different type of delivery, and so for someone to have access to that kind of intimacy, I guess, in our lives is special when we know that you listen and you appreciate what we're talking about, or that it resonates with you, or that it helped you in some way.
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you all for listening. In a time that feels so noisy and distracted and divided, it's nice to just be like, to hear you guys say, hey, I listened to your episode and and what? I'm happy to hear it. I'm here for it. So just wanted to say that in general to all of our listeners and people who continually engage with us. All right, one more announcement, Nani, I promise, and then we are going to jump into Filipino American History Month. Just as a reminder, we are, again, going on break starting at November, pretty much after Filipino American History Month. Nani and I are going to focus on our personal lives, whatever that looks like, and really just reflect and see how we come back. And I can't tell you when we're going to come back. I can't make any promises on when we're going to come back, but I do know for sure we're going to be going on break starting in November. However, if you do want to hear us in the off season, you can contribute to biasboba.com. And I thought I would mention one thing. In our intro recording, Nani, we recorded that at the time when we were promoting our full website, which is buymeacoffee.com/Jen and Nani. That is still in our intro. I'm sure if you guys listen to the intro, you hear that. But we actually have the short link called biasboba.com, which is spelled BUYUSBOBA.com. And so if you support us on biasboba.com, for every 20 cups of boba between now till the end of October, or for every 2 new members in a month, we will release a bonus episode in the off season. And so I don't know about you, Nani, but I think that would just be, and my dog is here. Everyone, see my Shiggy, come here for the video.
Oh,
Hi. This is my child, if anyone's watching video. I don't know why Scott threw him up here, but okay, thanks for the wonderful distraction. Yeah, we would definitely, I would love to come back. And actually part of why I'm bringing this up is because, if we want to continue to encourage more Filipinas in media, and if you're all about that, if you're all about supporting Filipino-led media, part of it requires funding. And so, Nani, any thoughts about, having people support us in the off season?
Yeah, I hope that you guys do, because as much as I think we both need a break, and it's just timely because of the holidays and everything. And, we're trying to go hard for Filipino American History Month this month. And then after that, we're probably going to be pretty spent on top of all the other things that we have going on in our personal lives, which you guys can learn more about on biasboba.com when you subscribe to Chismes with Jen and Nani. With that said, as much as we need this break, I still would like to be tapping in with you guys, to be tapping in with Jen, of course, and doing an episode here and there as you guys demand it. So this is really the time for you guys to get involved and participate, and just let us know, that you still want us.
Are we enough for you? No, I'm kidding. Totally kidding.
Yeah, we're enough.
Yeah, we're not trying to debate on our self-esteem here right now. But also, I want to mention this because actually I experienced this through one of my other podcast shows where someone actually asked me, could I speak anonymously? Like, can I contribute anonymously? And part of why I never thought of that is because I thought people want to be recognized, but I do know we have a listener on here who made a generous donation to the Bulasan Center some time ago. And Nani, I think you know who I'm talking about. But they don't want their name on it. They want to be anonymous. And so I bring this up because I want to let you know, if you do decide to support our show, if you want to support our show, but you don't want us to mention your name, you could actually go to biasboba.com and mark anonymous. I think we had 2 anonymous people, Nani, or at least it said anonymous, twice in a row. We don't know who they are. And we'll take it, And so I want to mention that to you all. If you are, if you don't want to be like Kaylina from Instagram and be shocked that we noticed you, but you still want to support the show and contribute to the show, you could actually, contribute at biasboba.com anonymously. So just want to put that out there and ease anyone's anxiety of any recognition if you want to support our show.
Yes. And I think there's also, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think there's also a little space where you can leave us a message or share a little note when you subscribe too. So if you specifically, don't want to be called out on the show or don't want the recognition for whatever reason, then you can just note that and we will we will honor your wishes.
Yeah, exactly. And for example, if you send us a text and we ask for your name and you don't want to give it, okay. But yeah, I think it's important to mention that because I know that, at least I like to believe that I love hearing my name on someone's podcast show, but I realize not everyone is like that. Like I remember one of my good friends that I had a friend who decided, like, we went to watch their band. I'm not going to give the time frame of when this happened, but she decided to buy the whole band drinks. But she told the bartender, oh, I don't want to, don't tell them it's from me, and I was like, really? Like, you just bought them all really expensive drinks and you don't want them to know, who gave it to you? And she was all like, well, I just want to support them, and I love that. I love how some people just want to support, their favorite bands or their favorite creators and stuff. And so, once again, if you want to support us and you want to be anonymous, you can let us know by mentioning it or even just noting that when you support us on buyspo.com. All right, that's it. That's all I have to say. That's all my announcements, Nani.
Yay!
Yeah. One more. This is actually quite relevant. Nani has started to put newsletters out again. Yay!
Yay!
Yeah. And so I just want to double check with all of our listeners. If you're like, oh my gosh, I subscribed to the newsletter weeks, months ago, and I haven't I haven't seen this newsletter. What I encourage you to do is to double check your spam folder and look for my email, Jen, that's JEN at TFAWproject.com. That's TFAW project.com. And check your spam folder. Make sure my email's not in there. And if it is, make sure you mark it as not spam so that you can actually start seeing it. But Nani, how does it feel for you to, manage your newsletter again?
It feels good. I mean, I feel slightly guilty that I had to cut some of the sections out just because my capacity, I would never get it done if I included those sections, which are the news section. And I know everyone really enjoyed that and was always really engaged with that or showing appreciation for that information that I would share there, and the recommended resource section. So eventually I will put those back in there just when I have a little bit of a better handle on my time. As of right now, I'm just really enjoying doing those opening messages to you guys, which is really where I put my heart and soul and how I try and keep a pulse on what's happening in the community, and then promoting those throwback episodes on YouTube, as well as the latest releases that come out both here on TIFA and on TJN. So yeah, and then also I think we leave in the section for our media where you can find Jen and I and the different projects that we work on outside of this show. So there's still a lot of goodies in there. And again, I will be bringing back the full version as soon as possible.
Yeah, at your pace though, no pressure.
Thank you.
Yes, it's always important. I always feel compelled to remind you, because any ounce of guilt I hear from you when it comes to this project, I'm like, no, I don't want you to feel guilty, Nani.
Thank you. I need that. Just little reminders, like we said earlier.
Yes, I got you. So with that being said, welcome again, everyone, to the official start of Filipino American History Month, which, if you don't know, I want to give a little background on it. And I'm actually pulling this from the FAHM's website. FAHMS is an acronym which stands for Filipino American National Historical Society. Their website is FAHMS, FANHS-national.org. And so a little bit about the Filipino American History Month. Just some fun facts about our community as a whole. We are the second largest Asian American group in the nation and the third largest ethnic group in California after Latinas, Latinos, Latinx, and African Americans. And so in celebration of Filipino American History Month in October, or sorry, let me say that again. Oh, did you not know that?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, it's a fun. I mean, I didn't know that. I'm not acting like I knew that, but yeah. I love how you just made that reaction, because I was just gonna read through this and I wasn't even realizing you were gonna react to it. Okay. So the celebration of Filipino American History Month in October commemorates the first recorded presence of Filipinos in the continental United States, which occurred on October 18. Hence why Filipino American History Month is in October. BT Dubs. October 18. 1587, which was what is that, 500 years ago now? Oh my gosh. When the Luzones, and I'm probably pronouncing this wrong, when the Luzones Indios, which is spelled Luzones space Indios, came ashore from the Spanish galleon Oh my gosh, I'm totally going to butcher this. I feel like I did this in the first year, Nani, and I butchered all of this. But anyway, I'm going to try anyway for y'all's entertainment. So in the Spanish galleon Nuestra Senora de Esperanza, and landed at what is now Morro Bay, California. And so in 2009, actually, I remember we talked about this in the first year, Nani. So in 2009, the U.S. Congress recognized October as Filipino American History Month in the United States. 2009. Okay, think about the fact that we landed here in 1587, and it's only in the last 10, 11, 12 years that this month, October, has been recognized as Filipino American History Month. Any opening thoughts on that, Nani?
I mean, I think it just alludes to a lot of what we talk about here on the show in the older episodes, you know, in regards to our history. Shout out to Stacy, our resident historian, who has shared a lot of that history and the reason, you know, underlying reasons why maybe that suggest, I guess, why it wasn't celebrated until freaking, 500 years later. So yeah, there's a lot to unpack there, and we've done it a lot in our older episodes, so we won't get into it now. But if you are a day one listener of this show and Tifa sister, then you know what we're talking about. And I'm sure as we get into the content that we have planned for this month, we will dive into that even more.
Yeah, absolutely. And so even though October was recognized in 2009 as Filipino American History Month, I want to mention that it was not easy to get here. So the late Dr. Fred Cordova, along with his wife, FAHM's founder, Dr. Dorothy Ligo Cordova, first introduced October as Filipino American History Month in 1992 with a resolution from the FAHM's National Board of Trustees. So 1992, let's do the math here. 2009, I don't know. Okay, give me a second. I need to do the math. I need to literally do the math. 2009. Sorry?
17 years, I think.
Oh my gosh, you got it. I was like, I had to think about that one. Okay. Dennis, feel free to keep that in so listeners can make fun of me for not knowing how to do math. I had to pull out a calculator just now. But 17 years. It took 17 years before October was recognized as Filipino American History Month. And here we are. We are the beneficiaries of that, being able to, oh, hi, Hiro. Like, girl.
He's done eating now. He might start going crazy, so just give him a minute.
Cool. So our listeners, y'all are getting,
okay,
y'all are getting front row seats with this. But yeah, 17 years before we're recognized. And so we are really the beneficiaries of that, being able to have our third year now to just talk about it, to just celebrate it. And so I'm just happy to be in a space where it's more about celebrating it as opposed to fighting for it. And I'm happy about that. How about you, Nani? Are you muted?
I'm muted because that. So BRB. Yes, I'm juiced to be celebrating.
Yes. Okay, well, we can wait for Hiro whenever you're ready. Or not. Totally up to you, Nani, because this is like
I don't know why he always chooses to do this when I'm on the phone with you. He just wants to be on the show. Okay, I'm muting us again.
Okay, cool. All right. So anyway, that's a little background on Filipino American History Month. And I want to just do a quick reflection of what we done in the first year and the second year. So this is actually perfect. So Nani, while you do that, I'll do this. And so back in 2019, in the first year that Nani and I were co-hosting together, the theme of 2019 for Filipino American History Month was Panay Visionaries, celebrating Filipino American women. And I don't know if you remember, Nani, but every episode we released, we would give a shout out to our listeners who wanted to nominate someone that they considered as a Panay visionary. And so if you all kind of want to do a quick throwback, I should mention that this is how we record nowadays, y'all, like not with video. So you're welcome. But if you would like to kind of do a throwback and go back to those episodes, I recommend that you start with episode 20 with Jolene Levid, all the way up to episode 26. So at that time, we used to release episodes every 5 days. But yeah, now if you want to go back and kind of remember those times, go back to episode 20 all the way to 26. And so that took place October 2019, all of October. And so quickly, Nani, if you can, any thoughts about that first year together?
Sorry, I literally cannot hear anything because he's blowing out my eardrum over here. What are my thoughts on what's the question?
Yeah. So thoughts on the first year being about Pinay visionaries. Do you recall that?
Oh, yeah, I do recall that. Hold on, let me grab his binky. 1 second.
I got you.
Okay, temporarily. Okay, my thoughts on the Pinay visionary theme. I thought that was really cool because we got to learn about a lot of historical figures, female Pinay historical figures that we didn't know about before, and our community got a chance to kind of weigh in on those figures and who we should be paying attention to and studying and really highlighting as role models, or just people that we should learn from their stories.
Yes, absolutely. And also from what I recall at that time too, we also allowed people to, mention people right now, like people who are, Pinay visionaries of today's times. And so I loved how we had that early engagement with our listeners, back then in 2019. And so in 2020, last year, as everyone knows, I actually think that this was very fitting because it seemed like last year was really about the year of activism. But last year's theme was the history of Filipino American activism. And so if you want to go back to those episodes and kind of remind yourself, or if this is your first time listening and you want to hear what those episodes were about, go ahead and start at episode 72 all the way to 76. And so I want to give a quick shout out to you, Nani, actually, because you actually worked with Mochi Magazine last year, and you had an article released through Mochi Magazine titled The 2020 Anti-Terror Law. And so do you recall that year of being able to work with Mochi Magazine after we were actually featured on there to share your take on the anti-terror law?
I do, yeah. That was like right at the start of the pandemic. That was right at the height of kind of my independent research study, I guess you could say, on Filipino American history, and kind of me diving into the political landscape of the Philippines today. And so I had just a lot to say, and it was such a great opportunity to work with Mochi Magazine. Shoutouts to Janina, who I still try and keep in touch with often today. Over from Mochi Magazine, we had a few opportunities to partner with them. That article I did, and then I believe we became our podcast. This podcast became affiliates for them, so you can find us on their website as well. But they just post and promote a lot of really great content for the Asian American community. And yeah, I think I was pretty like on the fence or on edge about sharing that article when I had written it back then, just for all the reasons that I've talked about before in terms of free speech and citizen journalism and the state of that in the Philippines today, which is very convoluted. So again, I talk about that a lot in those episodes around that time, 2020, early 2020, late 2019. So if you guys want to scroll back through those older episodes and hear more, you can do that.
Yeah, absolutely. And last year was really cool. We brought Stacy back actually for a second year to celebrate Filipino American History Month with us, as well as we brought on Dr. Allison Tintianco Cabales, who actually came up with the concept of Pinayism. So, it was interesting because I didn't really realize the impact of talking to her till after the fact when I realized she created that term. So if you want to learn what Pinayism means, according to Dr. Allison, check out episode 75. But do you recall that conversation, Nani? I think it was just so powerful to talk to her, and at the very end for her to have applauded us for practicing Pinayism.
Yeah, she is just a powerhouse. She's an amazing woman. She's an amazing teacher. We were connected to her through my cousin Kiani, who you guys are going to get to meet on this show a little later this month. But I think she was part of her PEP program, which is, if you're in the Bay Area and you're in higher education in San Francisco, then you know what that's about. It's a huge deal for the Filipino American community here in higher academia and in the name of ethnic studies. So yeah, she really pushes for that, and she's done a lot of work in that area, and she's just a really amazing, amazing person. So that is definitely an episode you guys should check out if you have not already heard it.
Yes. And last but not least, to all of our listeners who love celebrating Halloween, last year we also had Sapphire Sandalo, who, not only shared with us some history that she knows in regards to Filipino American history, but even the Filipino folklore. Her episode was the last episode to be released, happened to be Halloween weekend, which is episode 76. So there you have it. The last 2 years, Nani, have been incredible, being able to bring on all of these incredible women, these Panays onto our show. And I'm just so excited to be celebrating our 3rd year with you.
No, I think we had a lot of good content in those last years, and we want to just build on that. So if there's anything that you guys really enjoyed about the past 2 years that you want to mention or see more of this year, then reach out to us and let us know.
Yes. All right. So what do you call it? Proverbial drum roll, please. I think is that the right? I think I'm saying it the right way. But we are excited to announce, according to FAHM, once again. So I don't know, honestly, to our listeners, if you know of any other organization that tries different themes every year, please let me know. But the place that I like to refer to is the Filipino American National Historical Society. And so this year, for 2021, FAHM's theme for Filipino American History Month is 50 years since the first young Filipino People's Far West Convention. And so let me say that again, because that was a mouthful and that's the first time I'm saying it out loud. But this year is the 50 years since the first young Filipino People's Far West Convention. Nani, is this the first time you're hearing this too? Yeah? All right. Well, let me go ahead and tell our listeners, especially if this is your first time, what that means. So in 1971, over 300 young Filipino American people gathered in Seattle for the first young Filipino People's Far West Convention. For the next 11 years, youth participants met at the FWC's, which is Far West Convention, to discuss issues important to them, from identity to anti-martial law movement, to farm workers' rights, to ethnic studies. The FWC are considered to be the beginnings of the Filipino American movement and the impetus for Filipino American studies. For Filipino American History Month of 2021, FAHM encourages commemorating the FWC for 50 years of youth empowerment and organizing throughout Filipino American history. Nani, when I hear about this, it actually reminds me of my college activism when I was involved in my Filipino student organization at San Diego State University. Shout out to Andres Bonifacio Samahan, or AB Samahan for short. But when I think about, celebrating the youth and the fact that it's been 50 years of fighting for, having these discussions on identity, to the anti-martial law movement, to farm workers' rights, to ethnic studies, in a way, I like knowing that my friends and I in college were a part of it. But other than that, does anything come to mind for you in regards to this year's theme?
Yeah, the Philippines has a long history of activism and resistance and has been through a lot, politically and socially. There's a whole history that's essentially been erased. And so I think that it's essential that we have these ethnic studies movements and resources becoming available outside of the traditional education system for people to learn, even if it's just virtual talk stories here on our show, and learning, sharing our stories, even if we don't think they're important or significant, for the sake of showing other Panays what it means to be Panay outside of the, narrative that's already been painted for us. Apologies for the background noise, y'all, but
for the ambiance.
Yes, I have to probably come to this theme. Okay,
but you know what? I actually love having Hiro on, and I'm sure our listeners will appreciate it as well, because, I'd like to believe that we're still youth, despite our age. And I think millennials are still considered youth, but I think that we are contributing to this in our own way. And so to our listeners, when you think about this year's theme, 50 years since the first young Filipino People's Far West Convention, what comes to mind for you? Do you recall, or have you yourself have participated in youth empowerment and, addressing these important issues, let us know what comes to mind for you. We'd love to hear from you. And, we'd love to give you a shout out this month. And so, of course, you can do that by shooting us a text message at 415-484-8329. Or you can shoot us an email, jen@tfaproject.com or nani@tfaproject.com. But Nani, I thought I would ask you, is there anything else that you want to ask our listeners that you would hope they would reach out to us this month in regards to Filipino American History Month?
Yeah, just again, if you guys want to hear something or see something specific, if there's somebody in the community that you really respect and really admire and would want to see on the show, or if you yourself want to, host some kind of roundtable or activity or something fun. Again, this is a community, it's a collective, it's a sisterhood. It's not just Jen and I, throwing stuff at you. So we want you to participate as much as you're willing and as much as you're able to. And we want to deliver, what it is you're interested in. So we've already covered just on the show in general, not just for Filipino American History Month in the past, a lot of Filipino American history and a lot of just oral storytelling and learning. So there's a lot that comes with that. Again, the Philippines has a long history of resistance, of activism, and it's all essentially been erased. And so we're all just now kind of learning about it together. And there's a lot that comes with that kind of decolonizing process, unlearning and relearning. And it looks different for everyone. So we want to honor all of where you guys are in your process and, help you however we can. So if there's any part of that history or even, understanding the current landscape of the Philippines today, let us know and we will, dive into and focus on that.
Yes. And just so you all know, October is a long month. It's 5 long weeks, 31 days. I mean, I know that every other month is like that, but it feels long. It feels like it's going to be a really long month. So I just like what Nani said, if you're listening to this episode now and you're like, I want to participate, I want to share, or I want to give feedback, I want to share with you all like what I want to see. It's still the beginning of the month. The sooner you reach out to us, the better. We do have some exciting conversations to come this month. We have a very special Facebook and YouTube live that we're going to be doing. So TBD on when it's going to air. You'll be getting more information on that in the upcoming weeks. But we are just so happy. I mean, at least for me personally, I am just so grateful to continue to be doing this show 3 Filipino American History Month strong later. And I hope that we do this every year. I really do. And I'm just so glad to be in a space where we get to continue to write the history that we want to see today and for generations to come. Anyway, Nani, that's all I have to share. I think we shared a lot today, shared a lot of major announcements and what's to come. Really, what I want to stress and remind you all is that this is going to be our last month with you all until we decide to go on break or, unless you become exclusive members on biasloba.com. We'll continue our conversations on there through our exclusive podcast, Chismes with Jen and Nani. But we want to spend this last month with you as much as possible. So please engage with us. Please reach out to us. Please let us what you want to see this month, even if you want to participate. And let's have fun this month.
Yes, excited. It's here, y'all.
It's here. All right. Well, I think that's it. I think we're going to wrap up. Any closing thoughts from you, Nani?
No, I'm sorry. I feel so rushed, but I gotta go because obviously you guys can hear that my sweet son is not letting me get very many words in here.
Yes, and welcome Hiro to the show, our special guest for today.
Hey, if you're watching on YouTube, this is baby Hiro. I'm not having a great day.
Well, we love it. We're here for it. And we're just so grateful that I'm sure our listeners are grateful that you and I, Nani, were able to phone tag to get to this conversation today. And this is pretty much going to be our life for some time now. But until then, thank you all so much for listening. We love you. Happy Filipino American History Month. And we look forward to chatting with you in the next episode. Tune in next time.
We'll see you soon. Bye.